Hi everyone, we are Big Picture Film Club in partnership today with London Independent Film Festival, and today we are here with the cast and crew of the Rob Knox Story. How is everyone doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
I actually just wanted to start off saying that I did, we did manage to watch a screener of the Rob Knox Story, and we heard about the incident in the news cycle, and I think this film is really a great sort of a great eulogy to Rob Knox, and it tells many parts, not only the incident, but actually what has come out of it in terms of like the film festival, the workshop. And so actually, Aaron, I wanted to start with you in terms of how did you approach working with or getting the approval from the family to tell this story and at this time?
Well, I've known the family for a long time. Rob and I grew up as friends. When we were younger, we both, trained to do acting and things like that. So when Rob passed, I still stayed in touch with the family. I attended the Rob Knox Film Festival. They held every year. And a few years ago, Colin and I had a discussion about a possible documentary that was in the works. Colin can probably tell you a bit more about that because this predates my involvement entirely. So if you don't mind, I'll hand over to you, Cole.
Very, very short. We set up to produce a documentary many years ago prior to Aaron. And what we came up with was something that was sort of okay, but not where I wanted it. It was blocky. It didn't have, it didn't have a flow in the story. And I felt the story was produced with the director at that time as a young person. I don't think he was experienced enough to make it a wholesome documentary. And I passed this on to Aaron, and I think at this point, Aaron can take over.
Yeah.
I sent him the video, and he looked at it and he went...
Yeah, I didn't mean to be rude about it or anything like that. It was more...
No, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I watched it, and it didn't have any heart. It was very... I'm not sure. Anyway, that's neither here or there, but I saw it, and I thought I really wanted to have a crack at it. And I figured I knew Rob, and I thought what this was missing was his personality. I really wanted to set a film up that didn't fit the mold of stuff that was happening at the time, and I really, really wanted to make a warning to others rather than just a straightforward narrative where you don't really get to know the victim. And normally, a lot of true crime documentaries focus on other things, be it the killer or red herrings, setting things up to make it more exciting. But if you tell the story as it is, that's all you need. Ray will tell you that all the way through this. Ray kept saying, "Tell it how it is." There's no need to, doll it up or anything like that. It's a very powerful story. Rob's life, for me, after his death, he's touched so many lives since his death. It's unbelievable. I mean, we're talking to you now, and we have this film here, and Rob's story is just one of thousands that is happening all over the UK right now, and we feel it's our job to tell this one story and get his legacy out there.
Yeah. Ray actually said in an interview, and when I heard it, I was taken aback, but I wasn't, because it made sense. He said, it's not about Rob Knox. It's about knife crime. And that was so profound. Yes, we are a vehicle to move it out there, to get people aware of knife crime. But Ray said it eloquently. He said, it's not so much about Rob Knox, but about knife crime. And thanks for that, Ray. It's a very good
Well, I kind of think, Colin, that, you make a documentary or a film about what you know and how it affects. And I think the thing about this documentary is that it shows the effects it has on the family and the friends. Now that could be anybody's family, and it is anybody's family, because if you look at the amount of knife crime, there's been the murders have been over the years, and it seems to be getting worse. It could be the little kid down the road. It doesn't have to be a kid who's in the movies. You know, we've made a documentary because of something that is close to us, and we know what we're kind of talking about when we're doing that. But it shows the effect it has on other people that surround that crime, that tragedy, you know. And I think we've told it in our way and kept to the facts that other families are going through at the same time, you know.
Yeah. It's like what you were saying, Ray, when you know, in the last decade we've had close to 3,000 deaths with a knife.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, if that's how many people have died, it's affected hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, you know, if you just put 10 people within a family and friends, just 10, there's more, and you multiply that, and that gives you a figure. You know, there's that amount of people that have died from the coronavirus, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, that kind of puts it in perspective for me.
Yeah.
And Aaron, I guess, as kind of coming in as a directing, I guess, remolding what was there before, what do you hope is a takeaway message from seeing this film? And I'll actually extend that question to everyone else in the panel.
Aside from putting Rob's story out there into the world, it is more of a warning to not necessarily, in my mind, knife carriers only. It's I wanted to mold it in a way that a parent could watch it, or a teacher could watch it. Someone could, you know, with very thankful that we have this Harry Potter connection, as we were just discussing, but I'm hoping that will bring in the wider audience to hear about this guy who was in Harry Potter but lost his life. And I just really want people to take stock of the fact that, you know, there is something going on out there. It's not something that should be swiped past on a mobile news app or whatever, just because it doesn't affect you, because I can speak from experience that until it, you know, it does happen to you, you will not look at life the same way. Colin said quite, he said, the world isn't fair anymore. It's not round anymore. And I can completely see, for, you know, once it's touched you, the whole world will change. And we need more people to be aware of this on a personal level, not just, oh, that was a lovely film, that was quite sad, I'll have a cup of tea now. No, it's got to go deeper than that. It's got to really stick with you, be in your mind the next day. You know, I had someone tell me after they watched the film, they watched it, they thought it was really sad, and they went shopping the next day. And bless her, she broke down in tears. I think she was just in Sainsbury's and she just thought about it and she broke down hysterically. And that's kind of the reaction. I want it to stick like glue to people.
Yeah, I kind of, I'd like it to go a bit further than that as well, Rob. Personally, I think it's about time that people started having a screamer. I don't want to be too nostalgic here, but going back to when I was a kid, you used to have you had the local bobby who was on the beat, and I lived in the East End, which was a tough area. You know, and everyone knew the local bobby. He'd come round. If you got out of order when you was a kid, you got a backhand and kicks up the arse and go home. But I understand that you can't do that today for other reasons. Everything's very PC, but it seems that for me, governments, and they're all the same, whether they're Labour, Conservative, or whatever you want to call them, you know, taking away the things in life that we need, like fire brigade, like this nursing staff. We've got them now because we're in a pandemic, but policemen on the beat. There's that thing of saying that I hear a lot about these kids carrying knives for protection. Well, I'd like to see what the statistics is of the kids that they stab. Do they carry knives? How many of them kids that have been stabbed are carrying knives themselves? Because if these kids are saying it's for protection, I think it's a load of rubbish. And I think something's got to be done in the way that we deal with these people. Number one, anyone carrying a knife that's not a tradesman, you know, has got to go to prison. Got to go to prison.
That's right.
And we've got to have policemen on the beat. We've got to have local policemen who get to know their communities and know who these people are and can do something about it. Because until that happens, this problem is going to get worse and worse and worse.
Do you feel like through media we've been sort of desensitized by just seeing crime splashed everywhere, and so after a while, do we care enough to educate ourselves on this, and how do we do that? And it's through stories like this one.
You know what? I think it's even been fetishized. It's not even to the fact that we're all desensitized to it. People kind of, you see these kind of like murder porn videos online. People are looking around, looking for it for a bit of a thrill, so it's gone the other way. It's a bit twisted, but people can be pushed one way or the other, very, just coerced very slightly, and anyone's capable of anything, so I think it's as you were saying, Ray, like it needs to be like a fundamental overhaul in our society, the way that it's set up, and the people that are there to protect us. But there's so many different factors. That's what we found when we were interviewing people and sort of looking into what's going on. There's so many different like environmental factors. You can't point your finger. I think Jamie says this as well, Rob's brother. He says it's such a collection of different things. You can't point a finger in one direction, but they all need to be fixed. Do you know what I mean? They all need to be looked at in order for this to be really, seriously dealt with.
I think it needs to be, Joe, it needs to be fixed right from the top, straight away, and until that's fixed, it's all right going around all the clubs. There's some people out there who do some fantastic work in young boxing clubs and youth clubs all over the country. But if we haven't got that from the top, and I'm talking government, then we've got nothing. I don't think it'll change anything,
Yeah, agreed. A lot of this stuff relies on charity work, and that shouldn't be the case.
Absolutely not.
Can I just come in there? You've heard this, some of you may have heard this story before. Well, 4 of us may have done. But when I spoke to Gordon Brown before he lost the election to the Conservatives, I had a chat with him in number 10 Downing Street. And he told me that if the Labour, I'm not being political, this is something that was said by a Prime Minister at the time, probably 2009, 10, wherever it was. He told me that if the Labour Party won the election, they would put into the curriculum a 30-minute section to give good advice to young people called citizenship, where they try and steer people away from drugs, alcohol, you name it, any bad thing. And that was something that I thought, well, that's praiseworthy. They lost the election. The Conservatives got in. I had a meeting with the Education Minister at Portcullis House, myself and Barry Mizzen. And that minister said to me, we don't need it. I said, you're joking. What better place to educate people than in schools? Why are you against it? And that's something I found very, very strange. I'm not being political, but that was something that was said, and I agree with it. And
unfortunately, a lot of these sort of initiatives require quite a lot of resource, and if it's cut from the top, it kind of has that trickle down effect.
What was the resource in the school?
Yeah, but it's also, Colin, I mean, they soon find the money when they need it. I mean, with the pandemic and the NHS and the money they threw it, millions and billions of pounds came from somewhere. Who did they borrow it from? No one. No one had any money. They had it. So you're telling me they haven't got the money to fund this? It's complete rubbish. It's a lie.
Well, I'm dumbfounded, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you look, let's go back to when Rob in Damaload Sailor, which was he was like
a few years.
10 years before Robert. Okay, If you go back to that, even back to Damaload Sailor, and come back to this point, what has changed? How has it deviated to stop this from happening? What have they introduced? Virtually nothing.
Yeah.
There's been no one, as you say, Ray, no one at the top saying this is what we need to do. we get a lot of sound bites and a lot of listening that they don't really hear, and nothing happens, and they hope the problem will go away. And in fact, it hasn't. As our production crew, Aaron and Joe and Brad, we have found out the numbers have gone up since Rob. It's nigh on, I think it's 2,800.
Something
Now,
like that, yeah.
As a collective, that's a huge number. But I'll keep on saying this in interviews. I'm sorry to bore you guys, but when you look at, there's a murder today, and there's a murder today, and a murder today. That's 3. But when you look back, it's nearly 2,800 since Rob died, let alone Damilola Taylor. And nothing's changed. Why is it not changing? We should not allow people to walk our streets carrying knives. And I'll tell you why. And Ray has always talked about this, and we've all advocated this. It's about prevention. Prevention means you save lives.
Yeah.
Reaction means someone's been taken to court for murdering someone. Someone's been taken to court for murdering someone. That's reactionary. So we're sort of now embracing the families that have lost a child or children, a daughter or a son. We should be doing that. We should be stopping that from happening. Am I correct, Ray?
Absolutely. Bang on.
Yeah. I think a lot of, just to add to that, sorry, in what have we seen happen, I think looking at the news and the way it's been reported, and obviously I remember when Damilola was killed, and that was a huge shock, and I remember, obviously Jimmy Mizzen, and that happened, and that wasn't long after, or long before Rob, wasn't it? And
it was 2 weeks apart from Robert. And they played the same rugby club.
Yeah, same rugby club. They knew each other, which was all the more tragic. And what I remember was knife crime wasn't that prevalent in the press, at least until Rob and Jimmy, which, it wasn't something that is like covered now these days. When it's a stabbing, it's not like it's a shock anymore. It's kind of something that culture has accepted. And it shouldn't be that way. And like Joe was saying, the glorification of these things can be seen in true crime documentaries where, I've said this before, people put a true crime documentary on in the evening on Netflix and they'll happily fall asleep to it or something, and they'll take comfort from it or something. It's just become a new thing that we've become desensitized to that, which 10, 13 years ago, I don't think it would have been the case.
I've actually attended meetings in prisons, especially in Elmley Prison in the Isle of Sheppey, and I was asked to speak to a murderer. My ex-wife, Sally, didn't attend, but I did. But we took the film that Ray stood up to, Joe stood up to, and Aaron stood up to, and we made a film called Cold Kiss, a short film about crime. I took that into Elmley Prison and showed it to probably 20 people that are possibly outgoing from the prison within a year or two. And I started to speak to them about, what do you miss in life? Do you miss love, sex, holidays? I named 20 things, and all the boxes were ticked by them, not myself. So I said, when you leave here, because we used the shorted that we made, Cold Kiss, to enlighten people about knife crime and to see what they're going to miss if they were to be perpetrators of a crime. So don't be silly, don't stab someone, don't hit someone, don't basically be a good citizen, and then you can live your life the way it should do. And I spoke to this murderer, and this murderer, I won't say a skin colour because it's not a racial thing. I spoke to this person. He was very well educated. He was a religious person. He was attacked. Someone took a knife to him. Yeah. It fell on the floor, and in panic, he picked it up and he used it to defend himself. But he used it excessively. And according to law, that's almost the same as premeditation. if you use it excessively, you're guilty of murder. And he said, how do people feel about me in that wider world? About what I've done? I said, no one cares about you. You killed someone, but you've got to look at the story, reverse it. It was, for me, it was a very awkward conversation, but I said, no one cares about you because he reacted to a crime. He didn't instigate it. He reacted to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't his knife. He was attacked. And I feel sorry for the guy. He's spending 20 years in prison. That's the point. That's the point about just because you may not carry a knife. If you pick one up and use it, it's. I've always said this. This is one thing I've always said. Okay, I'll ask you a question. What is the difference between a knife carrier and a murderer? Can any of you two interviewers answer that?
I guess a knife carrier has the potential to murder. A murderer has murdered. No. The true answer is a split second. The difference between a knife carrier and a murderer is a split second. You may carry it and not intend to use it, but when it happens, if you're of the wrong mindset, you will use it, then you'll become a murderer. So I've always said knives are not the problem. It's the knife carrier, the mindset of the person.
Like I said earlier, anyone's capable of anything if they're pushed into a situation. And so if there's a knife there,
but if you take the knife out of the equation, you know,
exactly, then it's just a punch up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to go on so much. Sorry.
No. Thank you all for your time today and bringing this story to us. It's very much needed, and it kind of again serves as a warning beacon of what can happen and a learning tool, I think, to the wider society. And once again, thank you all very much for your time today.
Thank you, Precious.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.